All right, now we're going to look at the ear training for lessons 20 through 25. Okay. So in each example, you will hear two notes. If the second note is a half step below, draw a flat in front of it. So we've got two pitches here. You're checking to see if this note right here sounds what? Lower. Either the same or lower. And if it sounds lower, you're going to do what? Put a flat sign in front of this note. Okay. So let's look at every example. Every measure has two notes that are exactly the same, right? But we know that with the use of accidentals, even though they look like they're going to be the same, if we use an accidental, it should sound different. Or if it sounds different, we should use an accidental. And in this case, a flat symbol. So the only possible two answers that you could have are both notes are the same, or the second note is flatted. It's lower. Okay? Here we go. Example A. Again, example A. I will tell you that humming those notes is huge. If you don't mind humming them, go for it. Because if you did not realize that the second note was lower, you need to start humming. Because when you sing it, it makes it much more easier to tell that, oh, that second note was lower, okay? That was pretty easy, though. Hopefully all of you are like, yeah, clearly the second note was lower. Okay, B. Again. Same note twice, no change. C. C. Second note was lower, and D. Again. That's wrong, right? Yeah. They're both the same. Yeah. Wait a minute. Mr. Ivan's wrong. Let's tell him. That's when people start to speak up. Right. We're going to be having a lesson and nobody's talking all day long, but as soon as I'm wrong. Hey! At least it lets me know you're paying attention. In each example, you will hear a short musical phrase. Circle the phrase that you hear. So let's compare. Here's example A. And I can very easily just look at both of those lines at the same time, even though it's magnified exponentially is what you're looking at. So you should be able to look at a good chunk of the page at one time. But I can clearly see that they're almost exactly the same, except for on the fourth beat of the first measure, one of them has a flat and one of them doesn't. Okay? So how am I going to be able to recognize which one she's playing? Which one of the notes in these two examples is key to pay attention to? Beat 4, but how are you going to know? The third beat. Here's the one that's going to let you know if this one's the same or not. So it's really both of these. So if you said 4th, that's correct. But the reason you know 4 is changing because of what 3 sounds like. Okay, so you have to compare the 4th note to the 3rd one. So she's gonna play it, and I'm gonna look at this and just automatically I could sing do mi so la la so. So if it sounds something like that, I would circle that one. I'm gonna look at this one and sort of audiate in my head what I would imagine it should sound like. So la li so. So that one should be a little bit lower. So I'm gonna listen now and see which one she plays. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, one more time. Tracy, which one did you circle? The top one. That's correct. So, la, la, so. Beats 3 and 4 sounded exactly the same. There was no change. Exercise B. Again, I'm going to compare them. Looks like the fourth beat of each measure is where I might have a difference. So I sing, so, do, mi, so, la, re, re, do, ti, 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 or re, do, ti, te, ti. So I'm going to have to really pay attention right here. 1 and 2 and ready and go. Again, 2 and ready and go. Which one, Avery? The bottom one. All right. Try 3. In each example, you will hear 2 notes. If the second note is a half step above, draw a sharp in front of it. So a sharp symbol does what? It raises the sound. So do, mi, or mi, fa. It's actually ma. Did you know that? But there is a sharp mi, which, yeah, I found out on a forum on Facebook, but it's crazy. But they're does. Do, di, or do, do. So if the second one's higher, put a sharp on it. Example A, ready, go. Again. Any change? No. B. Again. C. Again. And D. Again. Great. So you should have gotten sharp symbols for the second pitch in examples B, C, and D. The second pitch in those were higher. Okay. All right, 4. You'll hear a half step that moves up or down. You will hear a half step that moves up or down. If the second note moves up half a step, draw sharp. If the second note moves down half a step, draw flat. So every example is going to have an accidental. It's your job to figure out if it's going to be sharp or flat. Sharp. Sharp should sound higher or lower? Higher. And flat should sound higher or lower? Great. So if the second pitch is higher, use a sharp, and if the second pitch is lower, use a flat. Example A. Example B. Example B again. C. And D. Last time. I hope that you all found that sharp, flat, flat, sharp was what was played. That's how it goes. This may seem overly simple to you, but being able to hear half steps and what direction they go is essential. Pretty soon we'll be listening for thirds and fourths and minor sevenths and the entire octave. So half steps are the increment we use to train your ears to start getting to the whole step, and the minor thirds, the perfect fourths. The intervals are just going to keep getting wider and wider. Okay. All right. 5. You will hear a whole step that moves up or down. Draw the second note on the staff using a half note. Okay. So it's a whole step, right? So you have to figure out what a whole step is going to be. A whole step from this going up, well, that looks like it's going up a step, but E to F is not a whole step. Because you have to look at your keyboard. E to F is a half step. So if I wanted a whole step up from E, I would have to draw an F sharp. So this is where you have to start using that keyboard, okay? So let's give it a shot. We're going whole step up or a whole step down. Example A. Well, it went up. So I kind of gave you the answer to that already, right? So we do know that the note does need to go on the next line or space. And we looked at the keyboard, and from E to F is a half step, but we're looking for a whole step, so E to F sharp. Now, some of you may be smart and say, but couldn't I use G flat? Technically, yes, you could. It would still sound the same, but we're still just trying to move one step away on the staff and show the relationship of that right now. Okay, so use the next letter name that you can. Okay, the next letter in the alphabet. So F sharp. A whole step from G sharp. Look at your keyboard, find G sharp, and put your finger on it. Or your pencil. Okay, Miss Duke? What direction did it go? Down. So you go 2 notes down from G sharp. And what's the letter before G? F. So we're looking at using the letter F. And what name should it be?
Sharp.
F sharp.
If you draw half notes.
Half note. Now, what was the only other possible answer there? G flat, but that's the same letter name. So we want to use the next letter up or down. Okay? That's going to save you from getting confused on which answer do I use. There's enharmonic. There's 2 possible answers. The next letter. That's important when we're talking about scales. You always go to the next letter. We don't skip. C. Okay. Well, what is that note to start off with? It's a C. So you got to find C, and she moved a whole step in which direction, up or down? Up. What's a whole step from C? D sharp? It's just D. There's a black key in between C and D, so that's a whole step. Okay. And example D. Okay, she moved down. What is our starting pitch? A flat. Find A flat on your keyboard. She moved down a whole step. And what note? So a letter before A would be G. So the enharmonic name for that note is G flat. So you could technically say F sharp, but F sharp's too many letters away. So we want to use G flat. All right, 6. In the following example, draw the missing notes in the boxes. Okay, so let's analyze this before we listen. Okay? Yep. Okay. Well, the starting pitch is A flat. And when she played... Okay. Thank you for stopping me. That's the best thing you can do if you're confused. Okay, so add the missing notes in the boxes. So let's look at what we've got going on here and analyze it first. The first thing I need to figure out is, okay, I'm in treble clef, great. There should be 4 beats in each measure. That's going to help me put in the right amount of notes, right? So the first measure is 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's full. This measure right here only has 1 beat. 2 eighth notes together equals 1 beat. So if I'm looking for a note here, it's likely that it's going to be what type of note? A dotted half note. 3 beats. Okay, let's continue. This box, there's 4 beats here. I'm missing half a beat in this measure. So I need what type of note? Eighth note. The second to last measure for the first ending here, I got 1 beat, 2, 3. So I'm probably missing a quarter note. And then the last 2 measures are complete with whole notes. Okay, I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Do you have the answers for this?
Yeah, I just kind of guessed.
I have an answer book.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, you want it?
I guess right.
You can grab it. Here's gonna be 4.
Do what?
Here's gonna be 6.
Oh, I'm just one note.
Okay, here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, and ready and go. Second ending on that one. All right, so I was listening along. This pitch right here was lower than these here. So I took a stab at it and I put that it was a C. It could have been lower than that, but it didn't sound like it traveled too much further than that, okay? So I chose a C. Then in this measure, this note right here was definitely below these two. It went da, da, da. I know from my ear training, that's a half step. Do, ti, do. So it was a B natural because the relationship between C and B is a half step. Then this was tricky for me. Da, 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 da. Well, I knew it had to be an F, but I couldn't remember if that should have been an F sharp or not, but I do remember what it sounded like right here. It went ba, da, 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 da. I heard da, 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 da. So that was my tip that that should be an F sharp. Is that correct? That's what you should have come up with. Hopefully you did. All right. That's ear training for Unit 6.